Cherries Industrial, please welcome John Costello.
I got to tell you, this is such an amazing event. I mean, I wish I could just take all this energy, put it in a bottle, and bring it back home with me. Here comes the waterworks. So it's really hard to believe less than 2 years ago, as a business owner, how overwhelmed, stressed out, and alone that I felt. I never would have imagined in a million years that I'd be up here on the stage as the warm-up speaker for Jack Stack. This is a story of how we used open book management. Now, for us, it saved the company. It helped with my emotional burden, and it brought financial stability back. Now, for me, it was overcoming the fear, sharing the numbers, opening the books, and again, giving the employees a stake in the outcome. So every story has a beginning. This is the founder and my mentor, Bud Cherry. So we started as a really small company. By the time I came into the organization back in 1994, Bud had bought and sold 2 companies, and he was in the process of selling a third. He was semi-retired, and he was looking at an exit strategy and a succession plan. With that in mind, he offered some phantom equity to both me and my partner, David. So with the phantom equity, he also gave us kind of a look behind the curtains. So there's a story to where the first time I looked at the income statement, there was this $1,400 marketing fee. And I remember going through it with Bud and saying, hey, where can you show this? Where is it on? Is it an expense? Is it a COGS? Where is it on the income statement? And he really couldn't give me a good explanation that I could kind of bring back to the employees. It was really kind of my first look at, how financial decisions were made with some owners, that it looked like there was only transparency, and the transparency was only really at the top. And many financial decisions were made to maximize profit and profit for a lifestyle business, and many times at the expense of the employees. So with Bud, he came to us and he said, look, I have a number in mind. And he had, 2 potential buyers on hand with David and I. And so with that, he said, instead of me taking it to an outside seller, he said, there's really 3 conditions if I'm going to sell it to you. 1, we want you to get 100% financing. 2, is it would be a cash flow valuation. And the third part is that you and my nephew, or his nephew, would be 50-50 partners. Now for me, I'm standing in that moment and I'm going, this is unbelievable. I started at the company as a junior sales assistant. I went through and I was a manager, and then I had an equity position, and now I'm a partner. I mean, like, only in America can this happen. I also kept thinking, there's got to be a catch. This is such a big step, and something's going to go wrong. Well, this is what happened. So with Bud out of the picture, this is what happens when the tiebreaker, Bud, was no longer around. So really what it ended up happening is whoever could yell the loudest won the argument and got heard. So with 50-50 partners, we weren't aligned. Our business visions were completely different. He wanted to run it as a lifestyle business. I wanted to run it for growth and scale and equity. He was of the opinion that we should run personal expenses through the business. I didn't agree with that. It was when and what time should we do distributions, and then reinvestment back into the company. So things started to get worse, and it started to leach into the company. There was moments where there was near mutiny. People would show up at my office and say, hey, look, unless something changes, we're leaving. So I began looking for some answers. I don't know if other business owners have done this, so I reached out to my family. I was the bane of every dinner party. They would see me and they would run. They're like, oh no, John's going to talk about business again. So then I went to business acquaintances and they said, John, I think you'd be a really good candidate for a business consultant. So I hired one. Or join a peer group, and I joined one. I hired a business therapist for emotional support. We did a company retreat. We spent a lot of money, and really what I ended up saying is look, there's a toxic work culture, and there's really a lack of respect for the owners. That was money well spent. So I turned to reading books. So I read The Game of Business. This is where it gets interesting. So my partner took a six-month sabbatical, and when he was ready to return back into the business, when he was gone, I kind of realized how the company was operating without him being there. I saw the shaky financials, and really it was like a different company. So we had a heart-to-heart. I'm telling you, it was the hardest conversation I've ever had. I looked across the table at him and I said, look, we're at polar opposites. I mean, we don't believe in the same stuff. I mean, there's really irreconcilable differences. So I kind of leaned over and I said, I don't think you want to hear this, but it really leaves us three choices. One is a buyout. Two is we sell to a third party. Three, we hire attorneys. And he looked at me and he said, sounds like you really want me out of the company. So if you want me out of the company, you're going to have to buy me out. So we spent the next 4 months fighting things out. Business valuations and other stuff. For me, it was also a time of soul searching and personal reflection. So I was really starting to question, did I even want to be in the business? Did I want to participate in this? You know, I was also looking at it saying, you know, can I continue to work at this pace? It's not sustainable. And the other part of it, too, is I'm like, look, if I'm not having fun, I can't imagine anyone else in the organization is having fun. Now, this picture here, this was it was a family vacation. We were in front of the Washington Monument, in front of a reflection pond. And right after this picture was taken, I kid you not, the bank called. So I was trying to buy out my partner. I was trying to finance it. The bank calls. And the banker, who we had a 40-year relationship with, said, I can't fund the buyout. It's like, oh my gosh. And I said, can I ask you why? And he said, well, you know, you've been drawing against your line of credit. You have a lack of collateral. He said, but really, all of my relationships have been with your partner. And we really kind of view him as being the leader and the brains behind the organization. So we're going to take a pass. So where'd that lead us? Seller financing. Couldn't get it financed through the bank, so he said, look, you'll make payments to me. We'll do it over a certain period of time, which we decided was 2 years. And he said, if you can't get bank financing in those 2 years, guess what? I'm coming back into the business. Same title, same pay, same equity. Yikes. So you can see me holding the rope there. I mean, it was starting to get hard. Tell you, there was a little bit of sigh of relief because he was out of the way. So I thought, hey, let's focus on the company. This is the important stuff, right? So we're like, hey, let's do a mission statement and a vision statement. Let's work on our core values. Let's talk about strategy and tactics. You know, the thing is, it helped. But what people didn't know, so within the company, there was still this general feeling that things were okay. People were still getting bonuses. They saw revenues going up, but they didn't know what was going on. Very few people knew what the financial situation was. So in 16, still couldn't get bank financing. Partner says, I'm coming back in, right? I said, no. So we renegotiate. All my chips are in. I go to wherever I can get money. I borrow against my 401k. I take a second mortgage on my house. I go to friends and family, promissory notes, scrape up whatever cash I have available, throw that in. So beyond that, I'm still looking for a bank to finance this thing, right? We're paying down debt with any cash flow that we have. Our financials had to be impeccable. And I'm just a fiend of like, hey, let's drive revenues. We got to drive revenues. We got to drive revenues. Here's the thing. Nobody knew this. I was stressed out. I was overwhelmed. I was completely alone. So I've got a 45-minute commute each way to work. My wife had given me a gift card, an Audible gift card, and I was looking for a book to listen to. I'm sorry. Believe it or not, this was my aha moment. I had read it before. It didn't resonate. Put it in, page by page, chapter by chapter. I heard Jack Stack. He was talking to me. People next to me, driving down the highway must have been, what's wrong with this guy, right? I'm shaking my head, I'm crying, tears coming down, right? But the stuff that he was saying made so much sense. It was like, look, with lack of information, people make up their own story. They didn't know what was going on. Then he talked about where companies that are in bad financial situation, people are walking out the door because the company is bankrupt. And they go, if I only knew, I would have done something. I would have acted differently. So I got to the end of the book, and I knew what I had to do. I was terrified, but I knew what I had to do. So my poor managers, I walk in the door Monday. I go, hey, this is what we're doing. Now, they had heard this before from me. John always got another one of these things going on. And so I was like, no, this is a good thing, right? Thank goodness there was a voice of reason in the room. And he said, okay, so you're going to open up the books and you're going to share the financials? What the heck? I said, no. It's the great game of business. I'll give you the book. You got to read it. The voice of reason was, I think we probably need to hire a coach. I go, good idea. So I'm going to go backwards a little bit. When I was in the peer group, the first day of the peer group, a guy sits down next to me. We start talking. He's in the same town that I'm in, and he's in a catering company. Great. About a month into the peer group, he goes, dude, you got some serious problems. I'm like, I know that. I really know that. He's like, why don't you come into our business, and I'll show you something. It's something that we've been working on. I said, great. I go in, I see a huddle, I see employee engagement, I see the numbers. Amazing, right? So fast forward years later, right? I make the call to the great game. I ask for a coach. They go, great, where are you at? I told them where I was at. They go, great coach in that area. Okay, great. Send the phone number over. This is where it gets interesting. The person that I had met in that peer group was Larry Walter, the brother of Kevin. I mean, it couldn't have been more full circle. I mean, it was, can I get choked up? I mean, amazing. It was really kind of a meant to be. So poor Kevin. He's got to come in, he hears my story, and I go, okay, what's next? We're going to do a design team. I go, great. He goes, but you got to share some of the numbers. So I said, first meeting, I said, Kevin, all right, here's the thing. Can we lock the doors? He said, why? They're going to hear the numbers. They're going to sprint for the exit signs. He goes, John, that's not going to happen. So first day, first things that come out of the design team, they see the numbers. They go, I thought the profit would be higher. I go, okay. Second thing, how much is the company in debt? Shared it with them, right? Saucers, but they were okay. We had finally gotten bank financing. I told them about a fixed charge covenant that was in there. This last one blew me away. Still does. Guy raises his hand. He says to me, what happens when we pay down the debt? I couldn't believe it. Why, for all these years, was I not sharing the numbers with anybody? So very quickly, we figured out what our critical number was. It was easy. We were able to peg it against our fixed charge coverage. It was great that we could peg it against revenues. Against net profit instead of revenues. In this slide here, this is our company. So you can see our scoreboards, our people, our huddle, our mini games. Again, we implemented in February of 2018. So what are the results? Well, the results have been amazing. So the bank that finally took a chance on us, the president of the bank and the chairman of the board, they know our story. They tell our story. I mean, they're amazed. They walk through our building. They see our scoreboard. They see the net profit at the bottom. The debt. So the first debt, 24 months ahead of schedule. It's amazing. The second debt, that was the second mortgage on my house, that will be paid off in 2020. In 18, 10% revenue growth. In 19, I know the numbers aren't in, but we're experiencing a 20% revenue growth. Net profit, over 40%. I got to tell you, it wouldn't have been possible without these guys. So we'll leave you with this. If you're a business owner and you're out there and you're considering doing the great game of business, and I'm not sure what your story is, my advice is you got to engage your employees. You got to tell them the whole story. You know, they can't help. I was this guy that was holding the rope. I mean, this incredibly heavy weight. There's no way that one person could support it. Now I've got a group of people, right? And so you got a group of people, we're all tugging on the rope at the same time. Thank you.